Most people believe wealth is complex because believing it is simple would force them to confront an uncomfortable truth: that their struggle is not caused by lack of opportunity, intelligence, or effort, but by distorted thinking. Complexity is comforting. It gives failure dignity. It allows delay to masquerade as preparation. It lets people believe they are one insight away from transformation while repeating the same behaviors that keep them dependent. The real danger is not poverty. It is the false morality surrounding money that trains people to sabotage themselves while believing they are virtuous. Kindness without leverage drains. Honesty without strategy exposes. Hard work without direction exhausts. If you are still waiting for fairness, guidance, or rescue, your position is already compromised. Wealth does not reward goodness. Rewards clarity. By the end of this journey, you will stop seeing money as something mysterious or distant and start understanding it as a system that responds predictably to those who think correctly. The shift is not external, it is internal, and once it happens, the path forward becomes disturbingly obvious. Number 1 confronts the threat of moral confusion around money. Many people are taught that wanting wealth is greedy, that prioritizing self-interest is shameful, and that money somehow corrupts character. This belief system is not accidental. It keeps people compliant, grateful for scraps, and hesitant to pursue leverage. Psychologically, it creates internal conflict. You want freedom, but you feel guilt for wanting the tool that creates it. Machiavelli understood this contradiction when he observed that men judge outcomes, not intentions. The world does not reward purity of motive, it responds to effectiveness. When you frame money as morally suspect, you unconsciously distance yourself from it. You hesitate to ask for value. You underprice your contribution. You rationalize stagnation as humility. The psychological threat here is self-sabotage disguised as virtue. Sun Tzu wrote that victory belongs to those who understand both themselves and their environment. If you misunderstand money, you misread the environment entirely. The cost of mercy toward this moral confusion is dependency. You remain reliant on systems and people who are not conflicted about extracting value. Robert Greene warned that the greatest power is often the ability to control your own emotions. And guilt is one of the most controllable emotions in society. When guilt governs your financial behavior, others benefit quietly. Acting strategically means separating morality from mechanics. Money is not character. It is capacity. Capacity amplifies whoever holds it. Power affirmation: I release guilt and pursue leverage without apology. This law demands a recalibration of identity. Those who succeed financially do not wake up more disciplined or more talented than others. They simply stop arguing with reality. They understand that wealth is not a reward for virtue, but a consequence of positioning. Historical power structures were built by individuals who understood incentives, not ideals. Merchants who dominated trade routes were not the kindest men in their cities. They were the most precise. Kings who accumulated wealth did not do so by generosity alone, but by control of resources and flow. When you internalize this, wealth stops feeling distant. It becomes mechanical. You begin asking different questions. Not is this fair, but is this effective? Not do I deserve more, but am I positioned to capture more? This shift alone eliminates years of. Number 2 exposes the threat of complexity addiction. Most people fail financially not because they lack opportunity, but because they overcomplicate execution. Complexity creates the illusion of intelligence. It allows procrastination to feel productive. You read more, you plan more, you analyze endlessly. But action is delayed. Machiavelli warned against this tendency when he noted that men often delight in change. Not because it improves outcomes, but because it postpones commitment. The psychological danger here is avoidance. Complexity protects the ego from exposure. If the plan is never simple, failure can always be blamed on missing information. Sun Tzu wrote that strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory. Wealth systems reward repetition, not novelty. Simple actions executed consistently outperform complex strategies executed sporadically. The cost of mercy toward complexity is paralysis. While you refine theory, others execute imperfectly and advance. Power affirmation: I choose simplicity and repetition over sophistication and delay. This law reframes effort entirely. Getting rich is not about discovering secrets, it is about eliminating distractions. Wealth accumulates through boring consistency applied to leveraged actions, selling value repeatedly, owning assets that compound, controlling costs while expanding reach. None of this is intellectually impressive. That is why it works. Most people abandon simple paths because they do not stimulate the ego. They want to feel clever, not effective. Historical wealth dynasties were built on monotony disguised as tradition. The same trade, the same route, the same structure executed over decades. Simplicity compounds because it survives stress. Collapses. Psychologically, simplicity feels dangerous because it removes excuses. If the path is clear and you do not walk it, responsibility becomes unavoidable. This is why people cling to complexity. It preserves hope without requiring risk. But wealth does not respond to hope. It responds to exposure. When you simplify, you expose yourself to outcome. That exposure is uncomfortable. It is also the gateway. Those who accept this discomfort early accelerate past those who intellectualize endlessly. As these first laws settle, a pattern emerges. Wealth is not hidden, it is avoided. People avoid it through guilt, through overthinking, through loyalty to narratives that protect comfort. Once those narratives collapse, the system reveals itself. Money flows toward clarity, not morality, toward consistency, not creativity, toward positioning, not intention. This realization is destabilizing because it removes excuses. It is also liberating because it restores agency. What comes next will challenge discipline more than belief. The next laws will address the behaviors that quietly destroy accumulation after it begins. Most people do not fail to make money. They fail to keep direction once it arrives. They confuse income with wealth. They confuse access with security. They relax structure at the exact moment it becomes necessary. Understanding simplicity is only the beginning. Executing it without deviation is where power consolidates. Wealth becomes dangerous the moment it feels real, not because it attracts enemies, but because it alters behavior. Once income appears, most people relax the very disciplines that created momentum. They mistake movement for arrival. The next laws exist to prevent that collapse. They are colder, less comforting, and far more decisive than the first. These laws govern what happens after simplicity begins to work. Number 3 confronts the threat of lifestyle drift. When money starts coming in, even modestly, the human mind seeks immediate relief. Delayed gratification has been endured long enough. Comfort feels justified. Small upgrades appear harmless. Better food, better clothes, better conveniences. None of these choices feel reckless in isolation. Psychologically, however, they signal a shift from expansion to consumption. Machiavelli understood this pattern when he observed that men lose states more through negligence than force. Wealth is no different. It is not destroyed by disaster, but by gradual dilution. The psychological threat here is identity inflation. You begin to see spending as a reward rather than a strategic decision. You confuse earning with owning. Sun Tzu warned that victory belongs to those who maintain discipline after advantage is gained. The cost of mercy is stagnation disguised as progress. Income rises, but net position remains fragile. Acting strategically means freezing lifestyle below income until assets, not earnings, dictate freedom. Power affirmation: I expand capacity before I expand comfort. This law feels harsh because it denies the emotional payoff most people associate with success. But wealth is not about feeling rich, it is about becoming untouchable. Historical power holders lived far below their means while consolidating control. They understood that visibility attracts dependency, expectation, and vulnerability. Lifestyle inflation converts leverage into liability. Every new expense increases the minimum you must maintain to feel stable. This creates pressure. Pressure distorts judgment. Those who resist lifestyle drift preserve optionality. They can pivot. They can wait. They can say no. This is the quiet advantage money is supposed to buy, yet most people trade it away for short-term comfort. Number 4 exposes the threat of confusing income with control. Modern systems train people to believe that higher income equals security. It does not. Income is conditional. It depends on systems, markets, and relevance. Control comes from ownership, leverage, and positioning. Machiavelli warned that those who rely on external forces for power lose it when conditions change. The psychological danger here is complacency. You stop building once cash flow stabilizes. You assume continuation. Robert Greene observed that power must be constantly renewed because it decays when treated as permanent. The cost of mercy is vulnerability. When income stops, so does freedom. Acting like a strategist means converting income into structures that generate without constant presence. Power affirmation: I convert earnings into control. This law forces a long-term lens. Wealth that depends on your daily effort is not wealth. It is employment with higher numbers. True accumulation requires separation between time and return. Assets, systems, equity, and intellectual property continue working regardless of mood or circumstance. Those who succeed financially focus less on how much they make and more on how replaceable they are in the process. The less essential you are, the more secure the structure. This feels counterintuitive because ego wants importance, strategy wants redundancy. Kings did not manage every detail of their domains. They designed systems that functioned without constant supervision. The same logic applies here. Together, these laws reveal why getting rich appears simple only after it is misunderstood. People fail not because the rules are hidden, but because they violate them emotionally. They reward themselves too early. They assume stability where none exists. They confuse cash with power. Simplicity requires restraint. It demands patience long after effort begins paying off. This is where most people reverse progress without realizing it. The next phase will go deeper into perception and risk. It will address how visibility attracts attention, how generosity becomes a liability when unstructured, and how wealth changes the behavior of others before it changes your own. Many accumulate only to lose momentum because they do not anticipate these shifts. Wealth is not fragile, but it is unforgiving. It amplifies whatever discipline or weakness already exists. Understanding this is the difference between temporary success and permanent position. The deeper you move into wealth, the less your enemies announce themselves. Early threats are loud and obvious. Later threats are subtle, patient, and disguised as goodwill. By this stage, simplicity has already separated you from the majority. Key. Income has stabilized, systems exist, control is forming. This is where most people are quietly dismantled, not by failure but by exposure and miscalculation. The next laws are about survival at altitude. They govern perception, risk, and the silent mathematics of trust. Number 5 confronts the threat of visibility. As wealth increases, attention follows automatically. People notice changes in behavior, environment, confidence, and access. Visibility feels validating. It confirms progress. Psychologically, the mind seeks recognition as proof that effort mattered. This instinct is dangerous. Machiavelli warned that a prince who reveals too much of his strength invites conspiracies. Visibility turns you into a reference point. Once others measure themselves against you, comparison begins. Comparison breeds resentment, entitlement, and opportunism. Sun Tzu observed that the victorious army avoids battle by remaining undefined and unpredictable. The cost of mercy here is becoming a target before you are fortified. When others know your position, they begin calculating how to benefit from it. Acting strategically means reducing signals. You speak less about plans, numbers, and timelines. You allow success to appear slower and smaller than it is. Power affirmation: I grow quietly and remain undefined. This law requires emotional discipline because invisibility feels like denial. But power has always favored those who operate beneath perception. Historically, merchants, bankers, and strategists concealed wealth while expanding influence. Visibility attracts not only envy, but obligation. People begin to expect access, assistance, and justification. Each expectation is a claim on your resources. Those who remain low profile preserve autonomy. They choose when and how to reveal strength. This delay confuses competitors and protects momentum. Silence here is not secrecy for fear, but camouflage for advantage. Number 6 exposes the threat of unstructured generosity. As resources increase, requests follow. Some are genuine. Many are manipulative. The psychological trap is guilt. You remember struggle, you empathize, you want to prove you have not changed. Machiavelli observed that excessive generosity leads to ruin because it requires either depletion or taxation. In personal terms, generosity without boundaries drains capital and authority simultaneously. Robert Greene warned that help given repeatedly becomes entitlement, and entitlement becomes resentment when refused. The cost of mercy is dependency creation. Once people rely on your support, withdrawal is perceived as betrayal. Acting like a strategist means formalizing assistance or refusing it entirely. Power affirmation: I give strategically or not at all. This law feels cruel because it contradicts moral conditioning, but wealth operates on systems, not sentiment. Unstructured generosity trains others to see you as a resource rather than a force. This shifts relational dynamics. Respect erodes. Requests escalate. Time and attention are consumed managing expectations rather than building position. Historically, rulers who distributed wealth indiscriminately weakened their treasuries and their authority. Those who gave selectively, ceremonially, and conditionally reinforced hierarchy and loyalty. The same principle applies here. Assistance must serve structure, not emotion. Otherwise, it becomes extraction disguised as need. Together, these laws reveal a hard truth. Wealth changes the behavior of others before it changes your own. If you do not anticipate this, you will misinterpret signals. You will mistake admiration for loyalty, gratitude for alignment, and familiarity for safety. Power requires distance. Not isolation, but separation. Those who maintain this distance can observe clearly. They see patterns forming before they become threats. The final phase will address the most dangerous illusion of all: permanence. It will examine how complacency, overconfidence, and emotional attachment undo even the most well-built empires. Wealth is not a destination. It is a position that must be defended continuously. The final laws will show how to remain adaptable, cold, and unexposed when success tempts you to relax. This is where kings fall and where strategists endure. Number 7 exposes the final and most lethal threat to wealth: comfort. Not poverty, not enemies, not bad luck. Comfort. Once money stabilizes life, it rewires the nervous system. Urgency fades. Hunger dulls. vigilance relaxes. The mind begins to negotiate with itself. This is the silent decay phase. No alarms, no crises, just gradual erosion. Machiavelli warned that fortune favors those who adapt to her changes, not those who assume yesterday's success guarantees tomorrow's safety. Comfort convinces you adaptation is no longer necessary. That belief is fatal. Psychologically, comfort alters risk perception. When survival is no longer threatened, the brain seeks pleasure and efficiency. You optimize for ease instead of dominance. You choose familiar paths instead of asymmetric moves. You delay uncomfortable decisions because nothing seems urgent. This is how wealth stagnates, then collapses. Empires have fallen not during wars, but during prolonged prosperity. Rome did not fall when it was hungry. It fell when it was indulgent. Sun Tzu wrote that prolonged peace dulls the edge of an army. The same applies to the individual. When effort is no longer mandatory, discipline must be artificial, or it disappears. The cost of mercy here is self-betrayal. You forgive your own laziness. You excuse strategic drift. You tolerate inefficiency because the system still works, but power does not disappear instantly. It rots, slowly, invisibly, until one shock exposes how hollow the structure has become. Competitors who stayed hungry overtake you. Markets shift, relationships change. And suddenly, the margin you relied on is gone. Those who fall at this stage are always shocked. They believe they had already won. Robert Greene warned that the greatest danger comes when victory makes you predictable. Comfort creates patterns. Patterns create predictability. Predictability invites exploitation. When your schedule is fixed, your behavior stable, your responses consistent, you become readable. Others anticipate you. They move faster. They take risks you no longer will. Acting like a king at this stage means manufacturing pressure when none exists. You impose standards higher than necessity demands. You train when rest is available. You plan offensively when defense would suffice. Power affirmation: I never negotiate with comfort. This law requires internal governance stronger than any external threat. No enemy will force this discipline on you. No crisis will demand it until it is too late. This is why most people who get rich once never do it again. Their edge was situational, not structural. True power is maintained by those who treat comfort as a warning signal, not a reward. Wealth, when understood correctly, is simple because it follows cold principles, not moral fantasies. It rewards clarity. It punishes sentimentality. It amplifies behavior already present. If you were disciplined, it magnifies discipline. If you were careless, it magnifies decay. The laws you've moved through are not about greed. They are about insulation. They protect focus, momentum, and leverage in a world that constantly probes for weakness. Those who succeed with zero support learn early what others learn too late. No one is coming to save you, and no one will protect what you build unless you do. Kindness without structure is liability. Visibility without strategy is exposure. Generosity without boundaries is extraction. Comfort without discipline is collapse. The predator mindset is not cruelty, it is clarity. It sees the world as it is, not as it wishes it to be. And once that clarity locks in, wealth stops feeling complicated. It becomes mechanical. Inputs, outputs, control, distance, pressure. Those who master this do not chase riches. They construct environments where riches are the natural byproduct of dominance. And dominance, once internalized, does not announce itself. It moves quietly, it grows steadily, and it endures. This is where the illusion ends. There is no final rescue, no hidden shortcut, no moral exemption waiting for those who hesitate. Power does not reward effort, it rewards alignment with reality. Wealth does not respond to intention. It responds to structure. What you have absorbed is not motivation, it is orientation. a recalibration of how you move, decide, and tolerate. From this point forward, every outcome becomes feedback, every delay reveals a weakness, every comfort exposes a risk. The world will continue to test you, not with open hostility, but with distraction, reassurance, and false safety. Those tests never stop, only your response changes. You now understand that success without support is not a disadvantage, it is insulation. It forces precision, it removes illusion, it sharpens judgment. Those who rise alone learn faster, adapt cleaner, and depend on nothing fragile. That is why they last. Do not seek approval for what you are becoming. Do not explain your discipline. Do not soften your standards to appear humane. The systems that reward empathy without structure will drain you. The systems that reward clarity will elevate you. Choose accordingly. Power is preserved by those who remain alert after winning, disciplined after abundance, and distant after recognition. The crown is not given, it is maintained. And it remains only on the head that refuses comfort, refuses chaos, and refuses to forget how fragile dominance truly is. This is not the end of the path, it is the point of no return.